All right, it is Wednesday. Finally, it is 4:30 p.m. Central Time. It is time for office hours here in the Academy. Hello there, Andrew. How are you, sir?
Well, I feel like I aged 2 years over the last week, but other than that, I'm doing great. How about yourself?
You and me both, sir. You and me both. Yep.
Um, yeah, it's been quite an eventful 5 days.
Mm-hmm. That is an understatement.
Yes, I would say so. So obviously, we're talking about what happened here with those that have CrowdStrike deployed, CrowdStrike Falcon Agent deployed out in their um, organizations. I saw numbers on Monday, I think, that looked like Microsoft was saying it was about 8.5 million affected devices. That sound about right to you?
That sounds about right. And based on my own experience, a good chunk of those are also servers. So
Yep.
including servers up in Amazon, up in Azure, in people's data centers. Um, so yeah, it's been an interesting few days here.
The one thing that I've been talking about the last couple of days and kind of keeping on my mind is while this was another understatement coming out of my mouth here, an unfortunate incident that we had to deal with. Um, what was not surprising to me that I like to spotlight is the community rallying around ways to fix things, colleagues, friends reaching out to each other, checking in on each other, even outside of IT, making sure the IT folks were okay. Nothing but support and positivity and understanding is what I've experienced the last 5 days, which has been phenomenal.
I can only agree with that. It's been amazing to see how the community has basically come together, sharing their findings, sharing their solutions, coming up with brilliant workarounds for a tricky scenario.
Absolutely. Hopefully, one that we will not have to deal with again for a very, very long time.
Yeah, I just feel bad for everyone impacted by it, and of course all the friends and colleagues that had to work through nights and weekends and whatnot, and everyone gets impacted on the other side too. It's been a challenging few days for sure.
Absolutely. Well, what do you say? We still, even with all of that said, there's still a few bits of news and exciting things I've come across over the past week. You think we should hop into them?
Yes, sir. I
All
think
right.
let's do this. I have your screen up right here.
That looks like my screen. So the first thing I wanted to share, I came across this and I thought this was just a fantastic resource. Meryl Fernando, who is just constantly putting out great content around, mostly surrounding EntraID, put together a few mind maps that help visualize the services that are encompassed by Entra, the larger Entra umbrella, as well as sort of the resources. So this first mind map here shows mostly the services, I believe, that sit under the Entra umbrella. The second one here shows a lot of the resources. So, for example, I can't see if I can zoom in here a little bit better there. Under Entra ID, we're all dealing with users and we're working with groups and we're working with devices. And this is a nice way to visualize how those break down into the individual properties and things you can assign to each of these resources. And the third one here, oops, there we go, breaks down the admin roles that are in Entra. So we have a column with the cross-service roles here. So things like global administrator. When you are assigned global administrator, you're going to have access to things like Entra, but you're also going to have access to Exchange, to Intune, to some of the security or defender portions of, or rather the portions of Defender, if you have global admin, for example. But this is a way to take and get your organization away from global administrator with the breakdown of very specific roles, either within EntraID here in the second column, or service-specific roles like we have here. And you can see how this breaks down to the various services, Teams, for example, or Intune, or Exchange. So coming across this, I just thought this was a very nice visualization that sort of helped makes a bit more sense of what is a quite large suite of services that are interacting together.
All right, excellent.
So that was the first thing I had. The second one I saw just this afternoon, hot off the presses. I haven't even had the chance to fully dive into this yet. Microsoft actually put together some of their own recommendations on how delivery optimization should be configured. So this is the document that was put out on Microsoft's Learn site. So it talks a little bit about how to set up delivery optimization, the prereqs to allow delivery optimization communication, and steps through step by step how you can configure these things. We see the requirements, which ports are required, how endpoints should communicate with each other, a network topology. And I'm not sure, at least for me, a lot of this documentation is new. Have you come across much of this in your travels, Johan?
No, this one I have not seen.
Okay.
I've seen a lot about DO, but this one is new to me. Let's see if I can. Do you have a link there you can share, and I can bring it up real quick?
Absolutely, I do.
Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if we can make some sense out of this one.
Oh, I figured if I had a conversation with anybody about delivery optimization, I'd be happy to have it with you.
I appreciate that. So let's see. Well, I recognize one of the contributors, Carmen. She's on the development team, so she knows what she's talking about, that for sure. Let's see, what else?
Well, it does look like it talks about a lot of the default values that are configured, and where you might find some efficiencies in changing some of these values.
Yeah, that is an absolute must. Unfortunately, the default values in Windows, they're not great.
Yeah, and I know you've put together some blog posts in the past on recommendations there.
Yeah, I've done it to group policies. I've done it for Intune. And I'm looking through their settings that they recommend. Well, a few are still missing. The stuff that they added in is not entirely out of line at all. So that is good. But for example, the QS value, I still like to set. We've seen that improving efficiency, doing a bit of round robin of the values as well.
Okay.
They recommend setting it to between a meg and a half a meg. We have seen it more effective when they go a little bit lower, depending on your network speed. No, but heck, I'm impressed. This is not bad.
Good. And nice to see some official recommendations at least, right?
Yeah.
Do you want me to drop the 2 blog posts that you have on the 2-Pint blog as well in our links for this evening?
Why not? Why not, sir?
All right. I could do that. And it didn't even take any convincing.
No.
Awesome. So I was happy to see this. I thought it would be a good idea for us to sort of look through this. And great. This is a great foundation then to get started.
Yeah, the only thing that it was a little bit hard to read it because it was sectionized. So there was like 8-9 different sections with like 1 or 2 recommendations in each section.
Yeah.
I eventually found the QS one that I thought was missing first. So all right, no, this hats off.
Excellent. Kudos.
Yeah.
All right. So a couple of other things I have here, real quick. One, this first one is from Ugar Cook, who has also been very active in recent months, putting out some great content. And he's got a script here, I believe, that will help you take some of the extension attributes that you may have on your devices in Intune and actually get them over to the Entra objects as well for your devices. So a nice, well-described blog post put together here, of course, talks a little bit about what details are available and then how we can actually get those device details over to the extension attributes on the Entra side of things. And once you have that there, I find that to be a little bit easier to do reporting, a little bit easier to put some groups together, dynamic groups that otherwise may have been a challenge. Coming from some of the environments I'm familiar with, naming, for example, just additional ways to group your devices, right? This is another resource to be able to do that. So fantastic stuff here. And then back to some of the topical things at hand. Another blog post that Ugar put out there. I'm sorry, a script. I don't know if there was an associated blog post for this, but a script that you can use for a remediation in Intune to go through and rotate your BitLocker recovery keys. So should your organization have been affected over the last couple of days by the CrowdStrike issue, it's likely that you did have to use some of your recovery keys. But anytime your BitLocker recovery keys are used, they should be rotated. Now, there are certain scenarios that happens automatically, or at least it's supposed to happen automatically. But something like this will ensure that it is done both in a timely fashion or on an ad hoc basis. So I wanted to throw this out there as well. And last but not least, still on the topic, a nice tweet that I came across from Martin Himkin, a good reminder that if you realized over the last several days that you do not have a working WinRE environment on a device, Martin has a script here to add that back to your computer. Now, I think as we've talked about WinRE over the last several months, Johan, you may have shared this script in the past, but this seemed like a pretty good time to remind folks that this is a resource out there should you have come across this issue over the last several days.
All right, awesome.
That's all I've got for today.
All right, I have a few things I figured I could share. See if my copy and paste magically can decide to cooperate. All right. Let's go here. So first of all, I did stumble across that the WP Ninja conference in Lucerne this fall, mid-September, sold out. Congratulations to everyone organizing that one. I'm looking forward to go there myself. I have a few registrations. I have a few sessions to present at the conference, so it'll be nice. Also a good opportunity to go see the family over in the Nordics. It's always a bit easier when you're on that side of the pond already. It's basically a around the corner trip
Yep.
pretty much everywhere in Europe once you are in Europe. It's more tricky getting over the pond. So looking forward to that one. And once again, congrats to the WP Ninja organization. I know how much time you guys spend making this event happen. Then I did stumble across this morning that CrowdStrike actually did release a preliminary incident review, quite detailed, about the incident. We are also seeing a lot of research posted online from this, of course, for the last 5-6 days here. But it was a good read, quite well written, quite open. To no one's surprise, acknowledging their mistakes, but still a good read, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Then on the more positive side, perhaps tomorrow I am joining the Petri Get IT conference. 2 sessions there regarding app deployment and patching using Intune. And when I say patching, it is for applications, so upgrading and superseding applications. So if you have a chance to join tomorrow morning, and we'll go on until about lunch, by all means do so. The price is just right. They do this for the community, so it's a free mini conference to attend. So highly recommend that one. Make sure to put that in the link. So that was. I had one thing here. I stumbled across a post from. Let's see who that was. Well, this one here, it must have been Peter, perhaps. No, Niklas Tinner. Niklas Tinner.
Mm-hmm.
He shared his stream setup, his lab setup, Cloud
Uh-huh.
Edition. So that was a good read, and sharing a little bit of what it works. And in the end, there's a long list of tools available, or recommendations or tips and tricks about tools to borrow, or use. So that was a good one.
I'll be
I like
reading
it.
that tonight. I always like reading those posts from community members.
Sounds good. All right. And that leads us, I believe, to our various questions. I did see a shout out there from Dean Ellerby. Hi, Dean. How are you? Good of us to good, good of English, please. Good of you to join us. I know it's real late in over in Europe, so thank you so much.
Yeah. Hey, Dean. Um, yeah, so we've got our first question here over on YouTube is a question about delivery optimization. Is GPO required for it to work properly? 10 to 20% of my servers have started failing ConfigMgr updates with a DO related error. Researching, I noticed that we never had a GPO set.
No, I have, on the server side, I have never seen a requirement for DO or DO configurations. Servers in general are quite connected or well connected to both each other and also to internet resources. The only thing I can think of is that someone has throttled it too hard, or if the endpoints that the service needs to contact cannot be reached. So we did showcase, forgot when it was, but Microsoft team did release a DO troubleshooting script a little while ago. So I can see if we can find the latest version of that one.
Is that the delivery optimization troubleshooter?
That would be the one. That would be the one.
All right. It looks like there was an update about a month ago.
All right, do you have the link there?
I do. Um,
I got it. Yeah. Yeah, that's the one. That is the one. That one, when I ran it the last time, supported a few different modes you can run it in. So why not? We can go ahead and borrow that one and go to a client that possibly had DO on it at some point. So let me see what we have. Over here, perhaps. What machine is this? Yeah, that will work. It's one of Amy's machine. I borrowed that one.
Oh, how nice of her to share.
Yeah, community, friends, it's good. All right, that was the script. Now let's see if I can jog my memory on the actual options. Oh yeah, these are the three parameters. This one specifically for if you have connected cache servers, but the other two is something you can run on pretty much any client. So if I run that script, and specify, for example, the health one, and hit enter, it's going to run a quick health check on my device. And as part of this, do some basic testing on ports, and also reaching out to endpoints to see if they are available from this client. So you can see that it does check some of these requests. So maybe that one. And of course, you can also run the peer-to-peer option for it. And it'll give you some statistics on how you are behaving. This particular client didn't look too good this month. But again, this would be a good starting point, I'll say. What I have seen recently, especially if you have larger updates, is that if the throttling is too hard, like if you throttle down it too much in policies, it will time out when you do things. So maybe that. Maybe that.
All right, great stuff. All right. So we've got another question over here on YouTube from Matt. Have you ever applied features on demand items such as RSAT in an offline mode integrated into the Windows 11 WIM? Used to use WinWich, but with that being end of life and the fork WinWich FK seems to maybe be going down that path as well. So neither are viable options anymore. Trying to PowerShell my own little script, I've extracted the FOD items from the FOD ISO and then ran add Windows capability command to the one index image after mounting and unmounting. No errors, but no luck either. Any ideas?
Not really. Not other than possibly looking into what David and Gary has been up to recently, because they have been keeping the OS the Builder module updated, even for newer versions of Windows 11. I think the README, when you run it, still says that it doesn't support 23H2, but they actually have done testing on 23H2, and I've also used it myself for 23H2, not for feature on demands, but to remove other components in Windows. So I would recommend trying that one as a start and see what they can give you. And basically reach out to David and Gary if it doesn't work.
All right. I got another question coming in over here on YouTube. Is it possible to update the Windows recovery image to Windows 11 so that when a user does a device reset from company portal, it will reinstall Windows 11 instead of Windows 10 that is the current base OS?
I mean, I have seen organizations putting in their own boot image that has like a local recovery solution that will basically you image a device. You just happen to boot WinPE off the hard drive rather than doing it from a USB stick or a Pixie boot. But have one that is fully integrated with the reset feature, I have not seen to trigger that one. It might be possible, but I just haven't seen it. You might be better luck on having some sort of cloud recovery solution in place, cloud imaging solution, or try to stage your own boot media on the device that will
Mhm.
connect to a local on-premises deployment solution that you have. Obviously, I see where the need is coming from here, where going back to CrowdStrike, I mean, devices that have been, say, encrypted with BitLocker, organizations or some organizations find out the hard way that they may not have recovery keys for all of them.
Mhm.
And then you're pretty much toast. So that's a reimage of the device at that point. But yeah,
Yep.
it won't help you to have it on the disk itself at that point, unfortunately.
No. Pretty clever if that works, though. I mean, I appreciate the sentiment there. I mean, if you're also working to just upgrade your base from 10 to 11 and through that method, that could be interesting.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
Yep. What on that note about cloud imaging, we actually have another question from Matt here. There was mention on X about possibly using PXE to automate the CrowdStrike fix, and that maybe Two Pints Cloud PXE solution could play an improved role in that. Could you speak any more about that solution?
Yeah, I mean, Microsoft even released a wrapped version of the ConfigMgr PXE responder recently to assist as part of their cloud recovery tool that they offer. But any PXE server capable of booting the device, yeah, you can automate a lot in that sequence. So you can have a sequence that connects to the device or boot up the device on. That sequence in turn calls a web service that gets the BitLocker recovery key if needed, and then unlock the device. There are command line options for BitLocker to do that, and then go ahead and delete the offending file in question, the star291 file in the CrowdStrike folder, and then basically reboot the device again. So it's definitely possible to automate, and I saw some threads on Reddit this week where people has been quite successful doing it that way, even booting up from USB stick to do the same type of troubleshooting purposes. But yeah, that is a good option. Of course, I'm a bit biased. I happen to like our PXE responder because it works over internet. It works over 80 dps. So as long as the device have a fighting chance of finding it somehow, scope options, a little hint on the way in BIOS, or for example, a tiny USB stick that has just enough instructions to talk to the right PXE server, that will definitely help. So.
All right. Yeah, we did. There was a thread that you and I were a part of talking a little bit about how we might be able to get BitLocker keys into one of those solutions and automatically um, have the device check for that BitLocker recovery key. Uh, we didn't end up needing it, but we did actually get that working.
It was so weird. It was only just 2 weeks ago we had on the new community forum on our academy that there was a question. Okay, how can I back up BitLocker keys with PowerShell? And we posted a solution how to do that. And then of course this happened later. I was like, wait a minute, this is good. I can use this to get the recovery keys. Didn't know
Yeah,
at the time, but heck, yeah, that works.
timely.
I mean, the trick is always to get it secure. didn't want the client themselves to go ahead and start to be able to read recovery keys left and right. So
Yep.
I'd rather have something server side at least, or an Azure function or something that gets the key, validates the client request, even possible to require authentication from someone to have to log in with a username and password against either Active Directory or something else, some other identity provider, and only then get the key to continue. It's still way faster than reimaging a device. It can take a good 2-3 hours, not to mention you bring up a device into a state where it basically wasn't before. Whereas a tiny sequence that only has like 4 or 5 steps in them, even if you have a prompt for username and password, just for security reasons, it takes like 2-3 minutes, and then you're done. And you can go on to the next one.
Yep. Less to clean up too. I mean, if you're doing some of those solutions where the device is just going out on its own and just grabbing the BitLocker recovery key based on a service account, or if you have that full export in an ISO or something like that, while it works, to your point, that is a security issue, and you're definitely going to have to work to make sure those keys are rotated and all of that. So a little bit more effort on the back end, I'd say.
Yeah, I did stumble across some scripts that shows how to automate that key rotation. I saw them for the Entra, or sorry, the Intune side of things. There was a question on Twitter, I believe it was this morning at some point. Someone asked how to force rotation quickly using the ConfigMgr BitLocker management. I don't know on the top of my head if there is like an SDK call you can trigger. I haven't stumbled across it. Well, I have to do a little bit of research on that one.
I'll make a note of that too, to see if I can come across anything for that blog post we were talking about.
Yeah. So you're reading one? Beautiful. Good stuff there, sir.
That's right. And if you happen to come across it, please share.
We have a deal.
All right. Perfect. Dan mentioned here a comment. They've seen people trying to remove that file on computers that are working, causing some detections. Yeah, I saw hundreds and hundreds of detection emails as these got fixed over the last week or so. So it was interesting, especially because I mean you have to remain vigilant when these things are happening. So those detection emails, they're coming through for a reason. So you still have to spend all of your time going through checking them and making sure they're legitimate and not malicious. And
yeah, unfortunately, the bad actors in the world, of course, took advantage of this as well and started doing phishing attacks and other things like preventing to be helpful and were anything but helpful.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Sean is asking over here on YouTube, what's the best way for us to provision Autopilot devices ahead of time in a hybrid environment?
So, I mean, the recommendation always when you see Autopilot and hybrid in the same sentence, run in a different direction. It's not a fun scenario at all to have to deal with. But automation around it to prepare devices, to import devices, I can't say I have done that for a hybrid environment. I've done it for user driven, I've done it for pre-provisioning, but not for hybrid.
Yeah, I wonder if it would work similarly. I have not tested that either. My thought would be that if you have line of sight to your domain controllers and you are still able to use the Autopilot for existing devices scenario, in theory, it should work similarly, right? Because you're just going to grab your Autopilot deployment profile, add it to a device during imaging.
I'm hesitant if it'll work for the hybrid setup, though. Possibly.
Okay.
No, I will have to. I will have to test that. I don't. I don't know on the top of my head.
Yeah.
Yes. Chime in from Matt here in the community. Microsoft basically says don't do that. Yeah, they also follow the run in the other way direction. They don't word it like that. They only said it's not recommended, but yeah, that means run.
Yeah. And Sean had a follow-up here. They have between 8 and 15 apps that the business demands. Those applications are there prior. White Glove they had issues with. So it sounds like that's why they're investigating this.
I mean, if you absolutely must go above the beyond 5 to 7 apps recommendation, you will run into trouble either way. The only really good workaround there is to leverage sequences. So either have an offline MDT sequence, MDT Lighthouse sequence. Mike and House posted about that a while ago. You can probably find that blog post if I put my heart into it. That's obviously just another app.
We should, a side thought here, Johan, we should probably mention too that when we're talking about hybrid and Autopilot and running, we're specifically talking about hybrid Entra joined scenarios. And so there can be options, which is what Johan's going to be talking about here in a moment, to still get those apps down. We're not talking about going away from co-management if your organization needs that. Or anything. We're really very specifically talking about Autopilot hybrid Entra joined, and there are some ways.
I mean, the challenge is always when you have devices that start up on the internet. That's where they are born. That's the challenge.
Yep.
If you have a device, as you said earlier, on your network, then that problem becomes more simple.
Yep.
But Niehaus did put together a few posts around running an MDT sequence through an Autopilot enrollment status page face. So it's a single app that runs, but the sequence in turn will call multiple apps from it. You can also run ConfigMgr sequence. If you have a cloud management gateway, you can ask Autopilot nicely to do a provision TS option. And of course, you also have the new, what many folks still call Autopilot version 2 or corporate device identifiers, but it seems to be possible to run a sequence through that one also, even though I haven't tried that myself. But in general, if Niehaus says it works, it works. That's my stand on it.
I think that's reasonable.
It was so funny. I was having a bit of a PowerShell problem lately. And I was basically testing connectivity in between devices within the network and also between a long list of network. And I needed to come up with a matrix like that combined at least 2 clients from every possible network and verify that they can talk to each other. And I was scratching my head and eventually I gave up and asked in our internal Teams channels, like, all right, does anyone have any idea on how to do this? And one person replied back, I don't understand the question. And Niehaus, within 5 minutes, posted a 7-liner that did it like, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Amazing.
It's more algebra in that one that I've seen in a PowerShell script, but yeah. He's a smart man, put it that way.
Yeah. We have a lot of understatements going on, and this is the theme of the show today is understatements.
Yeah, gotta happen.
Exactly. Too funny. Well, hopefully that helps, Sean. That's a challenge. That's a challenge that that Johan and I talk about frequently. We get questions about this type of scenario frequently. So know that you're not alone by any means. But hopefully with some of these other solutions here, this will help meet the demands of the business.
Yeah, I mean, it's a challenge. It was when I was preparing for the session tomorrow as well. I have to pre-record 2 videos, and we were doing application deployments. And when you're sitting there waiting for a demo, or in this case, a video, Intune is not instant in terms of app deployment. Even if you trigger every possible trigger there is on the client, it still takes easily half an hour to get stuff happening, especially if you do, say, an application replace or supersede and something like that. It's just, and often I see organizations, they enroll devices through Autopilot. They have a few first applications coming down immediately, and then it can take good 2-3 hours, sometimes longer, to get the rest of them. And that's just the nature of a shared service. You cannot compare performance in Intune to what you have in ConfigMgr, because ConfigMgr is something that you run, well, in your data center, or at least some data center that you control. If you have performance issues, you can tweak it. You can throw more, basically, hardware at the problem. You can't do that with Intune. And you end up in a queue somewhere. And it's not just you, it's like 10,000 other customers that happen to be in that queue also. So I understand where the questions are coming from. And it is a bit of a challenge at times. Intune is capable of deploying apps. That's not what I'm saying. It's slower compared to ConfigMgr.
Yep. Well said.
Yeah.
All right.
What else?
We've got a question here around installing company portals. So on our Autopilot devices, we use Winget to install company portal on the first login by adding its command to the default user's run once registry key. Winget version 1.2, which is what comes with Windows 11 22H2, fails to do this silently and lacks self-upgrade capabilities. There have been fixes, or this has been fixed in the newer Winget versions. Currently, we've been trying to upgrade Winget by triggering a store update using a script before the app deployments happen in Autopilot's device phase, but the results have been inconsistent. Do you know of a reliable method to guarantee company portal availability at first login, or at least ensure Winget is updated on demand?
That I have not tested, but it is a great point.
Yeah, and I know. Let's see where we. I have seen some recommendations around using the offline version of it during Autopilot and requiring that during ESP, as some users have also had issues with the online version of it during ESP. So if you need it early enough, maybe look at that. See if that alleviates some of the issue.
Okay, that's a good one. Good one to try at least.
Mm-hmm. We just had a pretty cool comment here too in the YouTube chat. Just got all my organization's devices Intune enrolled and moved Office updates and Windows updates. Apps remediations on Autopilot are up next. Thanks to you guys in the community for all you do.
Oh, great comment. Thank you so much for sharing. Appreciate that. Yeah.
Thank you. That's awesome.
And the community is great. That is ConfigMgr, Intune, all the related ecosystem. The community is downright fantastic.
Oh yeah. All right. Just had another question come in. Is there anything out there to automatically update primary user in Intune like ConfigMgr does? Best we've been able to come up with is pairing what we have in ConfigMgr and mirroring it to a collection.
Not other than the scripting that I've seen.
Same. And I'm trying to think of some of the solutions that we've come across. I think we had this question a little bit earlier this year, although I could be confusing it with maybe it came across on Twitter or something. See if I can find this.
Matt was commenting in on it. No is the answer. That's like no way, no built-in platform for it. Been a problem for years was the follow-up comment. So thank you there, Matt. Appreciate that comment.
So we do have Sean, who is now over at Microsoft. If you want to share my screen, Johan. This blog post is still, I have not used this myself, to be clear, and it may need some updates now with some of the PowerShell commandlets that have changed over the last 2 years. But Sean's blog post here is the one that I see most commonly referenced. As Johan said, a little bit of PowerShell scripting and Azure automation is what Sean used for his solution. This helped update that primary user. So this might be something to take a look at. I swear there's at least one other one that I've come across too, and if I can find it, I will add it to the links for this evening, but I'll definitely add Sean's. At the very least, it's good inspiration, that's for sure.
Yeah, so Alia over at YouTube had a follow-up comment to your comment, Dan, regarding the offline version. Was that the Winget? Was the company portal you referred to in that one, in that post?
The offline company portal.
Yeah, okay. So basically, it asked for some guidance if you had any.
On actually deploying the offline version.
Yeah.
Let's see if I have some.
Otherwise, we can take that as a homework as well.
Yep. Yeah, I don't have anything off the top of my head, but I am happy to take that homework assignment. As long as I can find my piece of paper that will ensure I remember my homework assignment.
Yeah, don't forget to book the flights for MMS also. Greg will get mad at you if you don't.
I do not want... Yeah, I do not want to be on Greg's bad side.
Oh, heck no. It's a harsh general.
That's right.
Fair, but harsh. It's like, Ordnung, that will be the German word for it.
Thank you for the reminder. I'm going to put that on my homework list too.
That sounds good. I mean, you still have 3 days. I mean, technically you're good.
I'm sure he wouldn't be too upset if I got it in at least a little under the deadline.
No, I don't understand how those guys do it, trying to keep track of 200 somewhat unruly speakers.
I know, that's got to be a tough job. I mean, we know this crowd. This is unruly is a good way to put it.
Yeah. Deadlines is nice when they swish by. Yeah.
Awesome.
Good sound from them.
Yep.
All right, that was a total sidebar. Let's see what else we have.
Oh, so actually, a couple of follow-ups here from Matt. Matt said it was him. I presume that means that he means that asked this question before. So good. I'm glad I remembered. Thanks for asking again, Matt. And he did find a post from GK from Microsoft. This is in the backlog and aware of the use cases. They're going to prioritize and try to deliver this within the calendar year. And this is in reference to the automatically updating primary user.
That's brilliant. I haven't seen it on the what's new, but it's nice that I have it on the radar.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. And so some other comments here. So Sean's going to give the scripting a shot. Hopefully that works for you, Sean. And then just had a sit down with our desktop guys about primary user, requested that they try their best to make their first login the daily driver user and avoid local logins with their admin accounts in general before that's enforced one day for other reasons. Yep, that's good advice. Let's
Matt
see.
is asking if we should start a betting pool on the release of that one. Well, maybe around the Ignite time frame. I know Microsoft always try to squeeze through things to be done before a conference. And Ignite is one of the largest ones, so
There you go.
why not? That'll be my bet.
Yep. I'm not willing to bet against that. So Alia is asking, and the context is the offline company portal here. Would it work if installed as system during app installs? I've heard company portal only works if installed as user. Good question.
Yeah, I haven't tried that one either. Russell is commenting here in the chat that he did indeed try to deploy the company portal as a required deployment or mandatory deployment as system, and it usually comes down within a minute after the Intune enrollment is complete.
Okay.
That was his wording there in the chat. And Matt is having a follow-up comment that there are community scripts out there to do Winget functions through ConfigMgr system. I know we showcased one of those that Panu put together, the Finnish MVP, earlier this year that we shared here.
Yep.
So yeah, all right, that's a good call.
Excellent. All right, and Amir is asking, does assigning a user to an Autopilot device beforehand have any benefit rather than making the user entering their email and password during ESP?
Well, it does have the benefit that it will show that username. It will basically say welcome username when they get their device, and of course that is a nice touch. So if you have the opportunity to script in the owner of a device, if you have that one-to-one relationship already when ordering stuff, why not? It makes sure it's a better experience for the end user. I think I have a screenshot in our lab guide, or one of our lab guides. I was doing a custom training for a company this week. I put 18 engineers through Intune training. That was a bit of work,
Oh, yeah?
but it kind of gives an indication on how popular it is. So let me see if I can find that guide we used. I have it somewhere. The main reason is I wrote it. It usually helps a little bit. Let's see here. All right. Gonna copy it over to my machine and also share my screen before Andrew yells at me or mentioning that I haven't shared my screen. So this is the lab, obviously, and I believe I had a screenshot in the end. No, that was software updates. That was definitely not Autopilot. Try again. Yeah, this is what it looks like. So this is against one of Microsoft's training tenants, but this is what the experience looks like, where you have a very physical, that's a new word, visible indication on whose machine it belongs to. And this is obviously for a Windows 10 device here, but nice.
Yep. So Amir just followed up, understood on the nice touch here, but sometimes we don't know who the final user is going to be. Wondering if it would be okay to drop ship the device and have them enter their credentials themselves.
Absolutely. I mean, that's like 9 out of 10
Yep.
customers. That's what they're doing. Definitely. So, yeah. All right.
It's a really nice touch when you're able to do it for a bounty hunter such as Dinjarin, at least.
Yeah.
I think he likes that, I heard.
Yeah, to no one's surprise, there's a lot of Star Wars characters in our users that we have in our lab tenants and demo tenants and whatnot.
What do you mean? I don't even like Star Wars that much.
Yes, you do.
Oh, okay. I can't fool you. Not when I'm wearing a shirt with lightsabers on it.
No, that is correct.
Awesome. Yep. So Amir just said thank you for the responses.
Of course.
Absolutely.
All right. I don't see anything that we missed.
Me either. And I just looked at the clock. I can't even believe it's already 5:28. Literally, I thought these last half hour at least has flown by.
Yeah. Wednesday, the best day of the week.
I agree. Yeah. Dan's got my number. Your shirt and desk items prove that is a lie, that I do, in fact, like Star Wars. And my Boba Fett and Rancor here as well.
Exactly. One does not simply.
Of course.
Well, I went all in Ted Lasso here, so close enough.
Yep. Definitely.
Nicely put together next to an SMS-1 CD from the Dark Ages.
I love that thing, though. I still have, and I'm sure you do too. I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir. I have a very soft spot for that graphic design of Microsoft in the mid to late '90s. Really good stuff. I remember them having that on the boxes and books and CD cases like you've got there. It's fantastic.
All right, that was just a quick comment from Amir showing up in the feed here. That the Windows 11 22H2, that experience looks slightly different compared to what it was in Windows 10. I may have to do a double check on that one. I don't remember exactly how it looks on the 22H2 Windows 11. I haven't deployed any of those recently. And we have soon 24H2 coming out. Quite exciting.
Yes, sir.
See if it works. All right, then. I do not see anything else. Andrew, thanks for joining. Everyone out there, thank you so much for joining us, asking great questions and commenting and sharing information in between each other during the event here or during the office hours. We certainly hope to see you again next week. Have a great rest of your week, everyone.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great one.